I think we'll go ahead and get started. First off, thank everybody for joining. My name is Brendan Murphy. I'm the sales director for VSGI. I just wanted to say a quick few words about VSGI, and then we'll get to the good stuff. VSGI is a nationwide AV integration firm with a focus on collaboration technologies. We've been in the business for 30 years, servicing thousands of customers across the country in all verticals, including commercial, federal, healthcare, education, and many more. We take a product agnostic consultative approach to ensure that the custom solutions we develop for each customer is based on their objectives, not a list of products we try to shoehorn customers into. Our award-winning engineering teams have been recognized for accomplishments in both the design and implementation phase, as well as our ability to support our customers after for the life of their technology investment. We have a proven track record of designing, installing, and supporting technology solutions for our customers in a wide range of environments, from basic video conferencing carts to fully integrated conference and boardrooms, to comprehensive global digital signage deployments, to full classrooms and auditoriums. We maintain the highest level certifications with the top manufacturers in the industry, which allows us the ability to recommend the best solutions for each customer. It goes without saying that 2020 was a year like no other. While circumstances presented a host of challenges never seen before, through some of those challenges we found innovation. One area in particular was in regards to the way that we utilize technology to bridge the gap of an increasingly virtual world. Collaboration technologies in particular were thrust into the spotlight as they took on a new importance in ensuring our ability to stay connected, to continue driving business forward as close to normally as possible, and to ensure the ability to effectively communicate even though we were all physically separated. In no vertical was that felt more so than in education. Educational institutions, school systems, and all manners of learning centers were forced to pivot very quickly to new methods of communication to ensure that they were able to continue to deliver quality instruction. Video conferencing technologies were the heart of this movement, and we expect that to continue even as we move back towards in-person learning, be it in a hybrid model or something more. Virtual learning is expected to continue. The good news, the government has recognized the need for educational institutions to be enabled with the necessary tools to be able to deliver quality education, and as a result, have opened the doors to funding through grants and programs like never before. That's why we're here today, along with our friends from Poly, to help provide guidance to you and your organization to navigate the process of identifying the appropriate programs, assistance in applying for those programs, and consultation on what technologies to invest in once grants have been approved. With that, I'd like to introduce Jennifer Walker, Poly's Channel Grants Manager. Jennifer and her team are here today to discuss how Poly can assist you. Jennifer?
Thank you so much, Brendan. It is such a pleasure to be with you and everyone today. And boy, you said some key words, didn't you? Pivoting and video conferencing is here to stay for distance learning. We're super excited about that. Oh, that was interesting. I hit the wrong button. Hold on. So I'm going to share some slides as I talk about this because there is a ton of funding available. And we are super, super excited to share this with you. Okay, well, here we go. It still wanted to share a different way. Here we go. So I am part of the PGAP Poly Grant Assistance Program. So Poly sponsors us, but we're actually a third-party vendor called Learn, Design, Apply. And that's important to know because Learn, Design, Apply is grants, consultants, and specialists that have been in the business 20 years and more. And our specialty is finding and following that money to help you as the customer figure out how you can spend it and how you can meet your needs in the best fit. We can help pre-qualify you, walk you through the process, and even help you after you've received an award. And why that's important is because we're not directly employed by Poly. We can actually work with you as the customer. And so it's a value-added service that Poly offers, and we are super excited to partner with you to find that money. And boy, there is a lot of it right now. Money is raining right now. $908 billion we want to talk about in the CAA 2021 stimulus package, which is the second round of COVID relief money. So what's important to talk about here is that you know you have critical needs as a result of COVID. You have that in your business, in your institutions, in your schools. You have it in your own personal life. You're seeing it. And just like Brendan mentioned, the government is responding, and there's a tremendous amount of funding to fill those gaps and to enhance your programs to meet the needs. And that's where we really come in as your grant specialist, because it's important to note there is not a finite list of technology items that are approved for this funding. It's all about the use case and the application of the technology to solve your problems. But we are talking huge amounts of money, so I'm sure you're well aware of the CARES money that came out in 2020, and there's some of those funds lingering around. But in the CAA 2021 package, the ESSER 2 funds addressing the K through 12 market were 4 times the ESSER 1 funding in the CARES package. And for higher education, 23 billion, which was about 2 times the funding that was in CARES. And then there's also governor's emergency relief fundings, and that's about 1.5 times the CARE funding. Still tremendous amounts of money. So let's talk about this, and I invite you to put any questions that you have in the chat, and we'll address those throughout and come back to them at the end as well. And there's also a landing page that VSGI has so that we can get into a more in-depth conversation if you're already saying, I need to know exactly how this applies to me. But so what is interesting in the ESSER 2 funds, one of the biggest things to note is that there is a guidance that there needs to be more planning than there were with the CARES funding, which was very, very reactive. They want you to have more long-term thought process, which is great because distance learning has been here a long time. The world has really come to understand the power of it and the need for it, and it is going to be here to stay, just as Brendan mentioned. So you need to have your planning in place, your technology needs, and we're here to tell you, help you tell that story. And it can be video, it can be voice, and it can be headsets, because in these different environments with many, many people often working from home or participating from online learning from home, we've got lots of needs that we can address through this technology. And all of this is to be applied to that, loss of learning. It's very important that these are critical needs for our children, right? Right now, it is just a crazy time, and this technology can help. It can help, especially with students with IEPs and any kind of mental health counseling, student based health. We have more than just your everyday learning, but we have the everyday learning that is of utmost importance as well. So, these are the points of guidance for the funding. And you can see that technology intersects in all these major points that the government has outlined for the ESSER 2 funding. These funds are due to expire in September 30th, 2023, but what's important to note is you may still have ESSER 1 funds available. Those don't expire until September 30th, 2022, but you do need to exhaust the ESSER 1 funds before you dip into the ESSER 2 pot. And guess what? There's even more funding in the pipeline that I'm going to tell you about. So the allocations have been made to the states, and we can tell you about that information if you go to that landing page and ask for an appointment. We can meet with you and give you that information. What we don't always know is exactly what the local allocations have been, but we are keeping our finger on the pulse there. And if you know what your ESSER 1 allocation was, you can multiply that by 4. We do already know about the higher education allocations as well. So again, if you contact us, we are more than happy to meet with you one-on-one and tell you what your allocation is if you're not aware of that. So obviously we all are feeling that the pandemic is dragging on much longer than we ever anticipated. Obviously, school is not back to normal, and it doesn't look like it's going to be back to normal necessarily in the fall, although the administration is trying hard to get both K through 12 and higher education back in the buildings. We have to make sure it's safe. We have to make sure people are getting vaccinated. And so we know that we need to plan for even longer term than what we had ever anticipated. Distance learning is vital in that application. We've got some facts also that are interesting. If you happen to be with a a non-public, a private institution or a charter school, those institutions did not have a direct allocation in the CARES funding, but they are having an allocation in the governor's emergency relief fund that is part of the CAA 2021. So a lot of times, so this is absolutely up to the governor of each state, and all of this hasn't been allocated yet, but it is there. The money has been determined. It just hasn't made its way down to every institution yet. We can meet with you and help give you some guidance on that, but that's really exciting to know that 2.75 billion is allocated for the non-public schools in this round. And we all know that often the private schools and the charter schools, they have um, they always want to have the technology at cutting edge, right? And so they need to keep up and even surpass what the public schools are doing right now. There's an opportunity here to tap into the grant money to serve those needs. We look forward to helping you find that income stream. Okay, so higher ed, again, that's 23 billion right now. Those funds need to be spent within a year of allocation, and they've already been allocated in January. And also, once again, the CARES funding, which was the HERF 1 round, need to be exhausted before you dip into the HERF 2 pot. So there is a lot of money that is available now, and the government is really stimulating to make a move to make sure that your distance learning is in place now. So they want you to spend the money. They've allocated this money to solve these problems that is just a critical need right now. With the higher ed allocations, 50% must be spent on financial aid for the students, which was the same in the HERF 1 round. Um, but you can see that it calls out supporting interactive learning and also continuity of operations. Again, the voice platform for both higher education and K through 12 is important if, particularly in a hybrid situation where educators need to teach from home. There needs to be a voice system in place that allows them to do that and still maintain privacy. We have those use cases. We can help you figure that out. It's a great way to upgrade and get to a cloud voice solution with these fundings. All right. Polly actually just came out with a new P series. We just announced that this week. And there is a system that is an individual camera coupled with a headset, which is really a nice solution for higher ed. There are lots of use cases where headsets can be uh, distributed to many students. Again, that could also apply in some K through 12 situations as well as higher ed, depending on the use case there that we can talk to you about. I'm super excited. In just a minute, I'm going to hand this over so you can see some of this technology in action because it always speaks volumes when you get to see it and really understand the power of this distance learning technology. But I just want to give you a highlight that not only is there possibly CARES money that's left from the first stimulus package, there's definitely money in the CAA 2021, the second stimulus package. There's even a third stimulus package coming. It is all over the news right now. You're probably hearing about it. Even larger, $1.89 trillion. And this is the high level breakout of some of the areas where that funding is meant to go. So in education, K through 12 is going to get another $130 billion, higher ed, $35 billion, and those governor emergency relief funds, 5 additional billion. So it is just tremendous the amount of money that's coming. This money is still being approved, but it hasn't been fully passed yet. But these are some of the highlights of the use cases and the needs that they're trying to address. And you can see in yellow, anything that's in yellow is where distance learning can be applied to that use case. It's either called out directly or you can think about it for student-based health and think about it for reducing class size, again, addressing learning loss, all of those important essential things. That just speaks to our technology. So without any further ado, I actually want to give Melissa a moment to talk to you about the this funding. And when we come back, I want to give you just a highlight about some of the traditional funding, but I want you to see some of the technology in play and then come back. So Melissa, over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Jennifer. Hi, everyone. Melissa Bisbo here. I'm the experience manager in Austin, Texas, and I'm going to do a quick little demo of our Studio USB. This has been our product that has been very hot in education right now. I'm selling these in the tens of thousands to some school districts, and I just want to show you exactly why it has become so popular, some of the features that are built into it. And then also just to point out that our team here at Poly, we're a tool for you as well. So doing all these virtual demos has been very powerful with customers being able to actually see the technology. So I do like to point that out. So this here is our Studio USB. If you're not familiar with the product, the reason it's become so popular is because it is so easy to deploy and set up and manage. It is just a USB product, so it plugs directly into the laptop, the teacher's laptop, or the PC, Mac, whatever is already in the room. Don't need any special software installed for it to run, and it works on no matter what meeting platform you're using. So Zoom, Teams, Google, any meeting that can take a camera and speaker microphone, this is going to work on, and it is everything built in. Camera, speaker, microphone. Don't need any additional microphones throughout the room. I don't need to wear anything to have the camera track me. Has a little physical shutter to turn the camera off, and then different mounting options. I have mine on a table stand in front of me. We've seen educators deploying these on carts so they can be moved around from room to room or different parts of the room. They can be mounted above monitors. So very easy to deploy, flexible. Also great if you need to bring them home. So we know there could be teachers teaching at home, but then they may have to go home because of COVID. It's very easy to bring home and just set up in a home office or wherever you find yourself teaching from these days in your house. I'm going to show you a couple of the camera features and the audio innovations that are built into this device. So I have my camera tracking off right now. This camera actually has a 120-degree field of view. So you're seeing pretty much this entire space. And this is a pretty large room. It's about 28 feet wide from window, which you can just see out of the shot, to the door, which is just out of the shot. So pretty much seeing this entire space. I have my classroom set up here. The reason these have become so popular is because of some of our camera tracking features that are built into this. So I can have my tracking totally off. You can see my whole space. I can set some presets. So maybe I want to talk about this part of the board today, and I just want to focus in on here. I can move over to another part of the room and easily, if I'm going to teach from this part of the room. But the real great feature built in that has become so popular in the education space now is something called presenter mode. So presenter mode is a camera tracking capability. It allows me as the teacher to walk around the room and the camera is just going to follow me seamlessly. Before coming to Poly, I was actually a teacher for almost 15 years, so I know you don't stand in one space throughout across the day. I may be teaching up here. If there's hybrid and there are students in the room, I'm going over to help them. So this allows me to teach like I normally would, and it also allows the students who may be at home to still feel like they're part of the classroom. So we know the big challenge these days is if there are students who are trying to learn from home, they feel disconnected. They don't feel like they're part of the classroom because they may be at home. This allows them to still feel like they're in the room with me because they're seeing exactly what the students who are in the room would experience. So that presenter mode is really what has been the game changer in the education vertical here with this Studio USB product. There's also a few other camera tracking capabilities that are built in as well, but that one there has really been the one that's been the most popular. And then we have two quick features I'm going to show you to help with distracting noises. So we have our noise block technology built in. So if you're not familiar, noise block is basically the smart mute for your system. So it's going to listen for people talking in the room. But when no one's talking, the microphones are going to automatically mute out, and you're not going to hear those noises that can be distracting. So in the classroom, it could be kids typing on the computers, eating the snack, shuffling papers. If you're at home, the dog barking, the doorbell ringing, all of those things that distract us, it's going to actually mute it out. And we have AI built into this now, so we can actually not only mute the microphones completely, but we can actually bring down any the volume of any of that distracting noise and still allow me to talk over it. So I'm going to turn my noise block off to show you how this works. So I'm going to turn it off. Also helps with HVAC noise. My HVAC isn't running right now, but you may be able to hear kind of the tone of the room kind of change because it helps get rid of any of those ambient noises that you may forget's happening because you're in the room, but it helps with those. So I'm going to play a loud blow dryer noise from my phone. Hopefully you never have to teach with a blow dryer, but again, I know how loud classrooms can get. This is loud and distracting. You don't want to hear this. I'm going to continue to play it, but I'm going to turn on my noise block now. So when I turned on my noise block and wasn't talking, it was completely muted out. Now that I'm talking, you can hear it again, but it's nowhere near as loud as it was before. So we're going to mute it completely, or we're going to bring down the volume of it and still allow me to teach over that. And the last thing I'm going to quickly show you is our acoustic fence. This one here, this device actually has 6 microphones in it. There are 2 on the edges of the device, and this allows me to turn on something we call our acoustic fence. Think of it as an invisible barrier that can block out noise from whatever those parameters you set up. And you can make it pretty narrow up to the field of view of the camera. So think of this in a hybrid scenario. We have some students at home, some students in the classroom. I've taught a whole class lesson. Now the students in the classroom are going to go work on their own. I'm going to teach continually to the students at home. If I turn on that fence, any student that may be sitting behind the device or outside of that fence that I set up, they're going to be muted out. So the students at home won't be distracted by them. Or one of the biggest distractions when I was teaching was kids walking by in the hallway. No matter how quiet you told them to be, it never was quiet. So turning on that fence, the students in the classroom can still hear it. But again, we're really trying to help those students at home, blocking out that noise, playground noise outside. And at home, you can only imagine all the noises that may happen outside that you have to deal with as well. So I'm going to turn my fence on. And all right, so my fence is on. I'm inside of it. You can hear me clearly. I'm going to talk and clap and make some noise. And move over here. Inside my fence, and you can hear me once again. Turn this off so I don't get muted out. So again, I just wanted to take a couple minutes there to show you all of the great camera tracking capabilities, the acoustic features built in. This is what really sets us apart here at Poly. It's having that amazing camera tracking capabilities without me having to fumble with remotes, and also all those noise features built in that are built into the hardware. So no matter what meeting platform you're on, they're going to work, and it's just going to make that teaching experience that much better. And the teacher doesn't have to learn a crazy new piece of technology. It's just USB plugged into their computer in the room. I'm going to throw it quickly back over to Jennifer because I think she had a couple more things to mention, but thank you.
Thank you so much, Melissa. I noticed a question in there. They actually wanted to know what you're speaking to us from. What are you connected to right now in this meeting?
So I have my studio USB in front of me on the table, and then it's just connected to my laptop here. So that's what I have in this room. I do have a monitor behind me, like a confidence monitor. But yeah, so I just have a studio USB sitting on the table, and then I have it just connected to my laptop.
Thank you so much. It's always fantastic to see you and to have your experience as an educator. So really powerful. And so I can give you all confidence. So we are having tremendous success with this Studio USB product, but it's not the only thing in our portfolio. We have a really wide range. So if you're in an institute of higher education or even K through 12, and you already have an installation of some more complicated, more fancy video conferencing, well, we can work with that as well. We can talk about those installations. We can also enhance your existing portfolio with some different multi-use products. I think just as Melissa mentioned, one of the things that's so interesting about the Studio USB is that the educators can easily take it home as well. And it's so important that they can be untethered while they're teaching. So anyway, the other funding that I just wanted to tell you about quickly is, I mean, we're sitting here talking about the stimulus funding, and that's like the low-hanging fruit, and it's very important, and it is right here to address those needs that we're having. But there is also traditional grant funding that has been around for years and years and years. And one of the most popular programs that we've had a lot of success with is the RUS DLT, and that is the Rural Urban Services Distance Learning and Telehealth Grant. This grant is meant for those economically challenged rural areas. And it has not been opened yet. The applications have not been opened yet. The guidance hasn't been posted for 2021, but we can tell you based on the historic program that it is, the awards are generally up to $1 million. They have announced that $60 million will be infused into the Rust ELT grant program this year. We expect it to open up anytime in the next month or two, and typically the application period is about 60 days. And it is a federal matching program, but you end up only paying about 13 cents on the dollar for the equipment that's approved through this. It is for profit and nonprofit organizations, and you can see on the slide some of the kinds of uses and some of the kinds of clinics and schools. And I mean, there's again not a finite list. It's all about the use case and how we can tie into the rural need, the economic need, serving those communities. And this is where we're experts. So definitely on a grant like this, you want to contact us so that we can talk through your particular scenario. And now is the time to be planning for all of the stimulus money. You should be jumping in there and talking to your VSGI rep along with your poly rep and talk about your technology needs and how we can help solve some of those problems for you with the stimulus money. So with that, I'm going to actually turn it over to Brendan and see if you have anything you want to add or if there are any questions that we want to answer at this time.
Yeah, thank you, Jen and Melissa. There actually were two questions. I'll ask the second part of the second question, which I think we already started to touch upon. Melissa, someone asked, are you using the studio right now, which Jen has said
Yep.
that you are, but separately wanted to know if there's any sort of additional extension mics or anything else that you're using, or is it just the onboard mics on the studio itself?
Yep, I was just using the studio itself, so no additional microphones in the room. So yeah, you heard me clearly throughout the space and no additional microphones hooked up to that.
How far away are you from the studio, and do you have a sense of what the pickup distance is before audio starts to degrade?
Yeah, so sitting here, I'm I would say about 8 feet away from the system. So I can walk all the way over here. I'm pretty sure I turned my fence back off. So now I'm probably about, I don't know, 15, 16 feet away. So the audio pickup really, the microphones are amazing and they'll pick up even in a larger space. The only limitation we have is more of a camera. It is a digital zoom, so it's not a device you'd put in the back of the room if you want to zoom in close on a teacher who's 30 feet away. So that's the camera there has that digital zoom. So we say the sweet spot, so it's 15 feet, but the microphone pickup, I could probably put it here and walk 30 feet away and you could hear me. It's more of the camera, just not wanting to put it in the back of the room if you want to zoom in on someone that's all the way 30 feet away from there.
Excellent. And Jen, this might be one for you. Someone asked earlier, these are federal funds. Ironically, can a federal agency apply for these grants?
Okay, I'm going to use my ability to plead the fifth here because I am, I don't want to say definitely not. I don't know of a use case right off the top of my head with these CAA 2021 funds, but I would invite you, whoever asked that question, to reach out and ask for a meeting with us, because what happens is I'm the channel grant manager and I do a lot of these higher level discussions, but once a customer or an opportunity has been identified with a particular customer like yourself, we pair you with our regional grant manager who is really well versed in the details of your particular region, a state, even, county or institution. So I would, I'm not going to say no, I'm just going to say, please let us meet with you and explore those opportunities together.
Excellent. Certainly, I should have mentioned this before, we definitely want to open it up to Q&A. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to jump in the chat and fire away. So we'll give it a moment for that.
Wonderful. I think also we can mention that there is going to be a raffle for some equipment. So for those attendees that have registered and you're here, I believe we're going to reach back out to you and with the winner for that raffle.
That's exactly right. So we will go ahead after this is concluded. We'll be doing a random drawing, and then one of the VSGI account managers who would be closest to you will reach out to arrange for delivery if you are indeed one of the winners. That said, if you are not, there are a number of products that are available through demo, and we can always work with you to provide information or products that you would like to kick the tires on a little bit. Looks like we might have another individual.
Another question coming through. In the meanwhile, I'm going to share this landing page and invite you to come here. And this is where you would enter to ask for some more information, to learn more about these fundings. And again, the ESSER 2 allocations, that's for K through 12. Those allocations have been made on the state level. They haven't all, every state has not actually publish the local allocation, but we can work with you to try to determine what that is, if it's been published or not. And then the higher education fundings for the CARES, for the CAA 2021, those are out. So if you want more information, if you want to make sure you know what your allocation is, definitely reach out and ask for a meeting with us, and we'd be happy to find that out for you and partner with you. And again, remembering that these grant services that are from the Poly PGAP team, there's no charge for you for that. That's a value added service that Poly has and that you can access through us and VSGI. So we're really happy to just answer your questions.
I think there was one person that may have a question, but I'm not sure if that's going to come through. Give it a minute. Otherwise, I want to thank everybody for joining. We certainly appreciate it. Certainly, thank you very much to Jen and Melissa. We really appreciate you guys. As mentioned before, we'll do a random drawing here and we'll let you guys know if you are one of the winners. Otherwise, we look forward to working with you. Obviously, there's a lot of money available. We want to make sure we're providing any assistance we can to make sure that money finds it into the right hands. So if there's any way that we can assist you, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, we want to thank everybody for joining and hope you all have a great day. That concludes our webinar.
Thank you so much.